asked about how I have my reverb and delay settings on the Helix HX Stomp. So I thought it might be a good opportunity to just quickly go through some stuff and some general thoughts on this. So if you wanted to, you can look at this particular preset that I'm looking at here. I might look at another one later on, which is the JC Mat 2 Timmer, is what I've called it in my bundle. If you wanted to have a look at it, you can there. You don't necessarily have to, because I'll read out what I've got going on here now. So my general philosophy is to put all delays and reverbs after the amp block. If you put them before, it's a sound, but for me it's not the sound I'm going for. So I can just show you quickly if I was to put them before the amp block. I kind of have it in my mind what that will sound like. I think it's going to sound quite messy. So you hear basically that the reverb and delay tails kind of are demonstrably louder, but also they distort, which is absolutely not what I'm after. So that's post again. So the first block that I've got here is the transistor tape block in stereo, and so I think that's one of my preferred delays. I think I also maybe use the dual delay, but anyway, I'll just go through this. The transistor tape, the time I've got on 427 milliseconds. Sometimes I'll sync that up using the tap tempo and other stuff, not for this. I've got feedback on 38%, wow filter, I think that might be all flutter, I've got off. Scale is at 100%, spread is at 2.9, and the mix is relatively low at 15%. Level is at 0 or 0 decibels, headroom is at 0 decibels, trails are off. So that's the settings for the delay. I'll just turn off the reverb so you can hear just the delay. So actually quite a subtle delay, especially for me. Normally I would probably have things a bit higher than that, but the danger is that as you turn up the delay, that things start to become a little bit less clear. So at 15% where I had it was kind of good. Now the reverb, for this block I've used Glitz, which is one of my favourites. To me it's slightly strange that Line 6 haven't put in an updated spring reverb yet. I mean, they've got the double tank, but the stock settings on that are quite outlandish, not necessarily all that natural. Not necessarily the sort of reverb sound that you'd expect to hear out of an amp or whatever, but still be good for some stuff. The Glitz is one that I use quite a bit, so I'll just talk you through the settings that I've got on that. The Decay I've got at 4. I think stock it's a little bit higher than that, maybe 7 or something like that is what it comes at, I think. So yeah. Yeah, Decay 4, pre-delay at 18 milliseconds. Sometimes I'll just turn that pre-delay off. I think because that then it attaches the reverb just to the sound instead of some. So if you've got the pre-delay up, let's just show you with the pre-delay up quite high. I'm going to turn off the actual delay. So you're getting like an echo because of the pre-delay, which might be useful to you, it might not, but for me, I prefer it to sound like I'm in the middle of whatever the space is. So that's why I like the pre-delay to be either low or off. I think I had it at 18 milliseconds, so that's pretty short, probably barely noticeable. The low cut I've got off. The low cut I've got off. The high cut is at 16 kilohertz. The mix I've got at 24%, so not crazy high, but again you can hear that even at that level you're getting quite a lot of reverb still, and I think the danger is that you don't want the reverb and delay to take over your sound. The delay on the glitz I've got at 64 milliseconds. If you keep going to the right of the menu, the rate is at 1.84 hertz and the depth is 3.8. Crossover 900 hertz, mod mix 5, and trails off. I feel like those are probably just the stock settings, as I probably wouldn't have gone that far into the menu, because I think generally if I set the delay and pre-delay low and the mix relatively low, it sounds how I want it to sound. Other delays that I like on here, let me just scroll through the menu and have a little look. Dual delay is one that I will use. Transistor tape is what we've got here. Bucket Brigade I'll sometimes use, but I'll turn off all of the what should we call it, mod and stuff. Not that there is any by the look of it. Yeah, so Bucket Brigade is like a DM2, isn't it, actually? So like an analog delay. I sometimes use that, maybe occasionally. Adriatic delay maybe is the one that I'm thinking of, that I've used a bit. I think maybe that is the one that I like as well. But I don't tend to like things like modulation on my delays, or phasers, because it kind of makes the delay a little bit more noticeable and maybe distracting from the actual melody. So I like simple delay, dual delay, probably vintage digital is good as well. And what else have we got? Transistor tape is good, Bucket Brigade can be good, Adriatic delay can be good. Those are the delays that I actually use. Then reverb wise, glitz I really like, double tank I like, Ganymede I quite like, I think. But with all of those ones, you probably have to do a little bit of sort of paring it back from where the default settings are, because they're kind of extreme, especially if you're trying to play stuff, you know, like in a normal function band or whatever. And then reverb, I also like on the legacy side of things. It's got a 63 spring and a spring, which I quite like, but I think they're mono, I'm not sure. And we could just test that now. I won't be able to hear, but I'll be able to tell in post whether it is. And then the particle verb is also something that I think is quite special on the legacy stuff. That's worth checking out. If you put that into stable mode and yeah, just give that a little play, because that's got some cool stuff. Not something I use all the time, obviously, because it's It's kind of a out there delay sound, but I think it's really cool. So yeah, hopefully that helps a bit. That was the reverb settings for this video. So I was using Glitz and the transistor tape. You can get the preset if you want, but yeah, that's what I'd say. My goal is to try and have a delay and reverb that doesn't completely take over the sound, although I really like delay, and sometimes I'll go back to record and think, oh, I've used too much delay there. Whilst you were recording at the moment, and at the time, it didn't necessarily sound like there was too much delay to you. But then when you go back to it, you're like, oh, that is a bit over the top. So that's what I'm trying to avoid.